Hi and welcome to the first video on my new channel. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, which is talk about all the sort of roleplay games and board games that I'm really interested in. The only problem is, having been a roleplay gamer for about 20 years, it's kind of a lot of roleplay games to cover. Where to start? So I guess the best place to start is literally to start with what roleplay games are. So without further ado, let's have the first video in my new channel, Sneak Attack Gaming, dedicated to what is a roleplay game. Okay, so you've heard the term roleplay games, but maybe you don't know exactly what they are. So allow me to explain. Roleplay games is a form of choose your own adventure, if you will. It's a creative storytelling method by which one person will take the, or in most games, where one person will take the role of the dungeon master or the games master. And their job is to facilitate the game, to create the story, to create the supporting characters so that the players, who are the stars of the show, can interact with it. And it means that the GM is one part director, producer, scriptwriter, and all of the extras. He facilitates everything else. And a lot of systems use various mechanics to gauge the character's abilities, but the point is that, mechanics aside, it's about the story and about where these characters go. It's like improv theatre. You dictate what your character's going to do. Your character might have certain abilities they can and can't do. They might have certain things they are good at and certain things they're bad at, just like people in real life. And those are covered by various stats on your character sheet. But at its core, the roleplay is about having those moments, those dramatic moments, those comedic moments, those horror moments. You know, there are horror games, and like television and film, there are all sorts of different games for different genres. The most well-known ones are things like D&D, which cover fantasy genres, like Lord of the Rings and that sort of thing. But there are games for espionage, games for superheroes, games for science fiction. There are roleplay games for playing as rabbits, bunnies and burrows. There are a myriad of different games out there to cater to different play styles. And I find it crazy that we live in a world now where people still laugh and look down upon roleplay games. I mean, even in Big Bang Theory, which is about nerds, when D&D is mentioned, it's laughter. Not because of anything they do in D&D, but because D&D itself is seen as a joke. And that seems really unfair. 20 years ago, people laughed and joked about video games, and now we live in a day and age where esports exist, and where almost everybody has either a PC or a games console at home. So video games are no longer considered that way. They're considered socially acceptable. They're considered something that you can be professional in, that you can make money out of, and that industries have grown up around, because the games industry is very prolific and very well written. Go and look at anything by Bethesda or BioWare, and look at the time they spend not just on creating great graphics and great gameplay, but on narrative and on story. And a lot of games now encourage that idea of that role-play element of giving you choices that you can decide what your characters do in the game, and that affects the outcome. And this is all born out of roleplay games. So roleplay games should be taken seriously. Roleplay games, to my mind, are one of the most sociable things you can do, because you're literally sitting around a table with a group of other people telling a story together. And some people have the idea that roleplay games are like board games, where you're going to have a board. Most roleplay games don't need that. Some roleplay games have that. For instance, I've got a map here from a D&D game. When I can find it. Or not, as the case may be. Well, that's annoying. But the starter set that I have of D&D has maps and various little figures to represent the characters that you play, but you don't need them. In fact, a lot of role players don't use them. I, for the most part, don't ever really use maps. It's helpful, but most of the things that are going on are in your head. Like if you were listening to a radio drama or reading a book. Obviously, as I said, we live in a visual age where video games and movies and stuff are very visual based. But if you've played enough video games or seen enough films, you know those moments. You know how a fight looks. You know, you've seen castles, you've seen hordes of undead. You can visualize that. And that's what you bring to the table. The roleplay game itself is about bringing people together. It's not about winning or losing. It's not about saying the players are going to beat the storyteller or the storyteller's going to beat the players. It's about everybody working together to tell these moments. And some people, because they have that win mentality, they're afraid of their characters failing. But I think actually the failure is what makes the characters interesting. Look at any great film where the good guys fail, where they have a setback. It puts them down. It puts them at a disadvantage. But then they struggle harder and they rise up from that. And that's part of the joy of role-play games. It's about creative storytelling and creative problem solving. So if you've never role-played a game before, you should go and you should give it a go, especially if you're interested in video games or in cinema or amateur dramatics, because you are going to find similarities with the storytelling processes that happen in those things. And I'll go into more depth about specific games and specific genres, and even about how to go through those moments in the game. But I really want to start this first video and start this series by saying, if you've never roleplayed a game before, don't knock it till you've tried it. And don't laugh at somebody because they said they played D&D. You know, just because they choose to spend their weekends rolling dice around a table pretending to be an elf or a dwarf doesn't mean that they're not intelligent or creative people. In fact, in my experience, most of the most intelligent, creative people I know are roleplay gamers. So yeah, go out there, give it a go, and if you want to learn more about roleplay games, I'm going to be giving more information and more videos on this channel, and I can also put you in the direction of a number of other people. One of my friends, he does a vlog on roleplay games as well, so yeah, you can see his videos. I'll put a link to his description on my Twitter, so if you want to see that, you're going to have to go and follow me on Twitter at Ava_fan_UK. And I will see you guys with another video real soon. Until then, keep on rolling those D6.